What's up, Buzz Squad? It's your boy Dalton coming back to you with another deck profile. But I'm not going to be doing it. It's going to be Will. So make sure you don't roast the man. You know, it's his first one. You know, give him some constructive criticisms, if anything. And please, enjoy.
Alright, so this is my Electrodeity deck profile. I'm feeling pretty confident with how it is right now. So let's get right into it. So my buddy is Guardian Electrobeast Goryou. Basically it's my buddy because it's skill, it's a Daryl, and it's very nice for the deck, and I'm almost always calling it or trying to grab it back to call it again. So that's why it's my buddy. Alright, so for size 3s, I have 4 copies of Amaterasu and 3 copies of Susanoo, and I basically did 3 and 4 because with how much the deck draws, you kind of don't really need 4 of Susanoo, just because honestly he's more of an aggressive pusher for game, I feel like. And then I have 1 copy of Mizu Hanome, and that's in there more just because it's a little bit more aggressive or controlling, so you can bounce a card or destroy a card or rest a card, which is very nice for on your opponent's turn. Okay, so now for size 2s, I have 3 copies of Goryou, or as I like to call, Barrel, for more obvious reasons. And then I have 2 copies of Komaji, and I just like him because he's basically a really good like resource gain. So you just call him, get a gauge to life, and hopefully you're drawing a card, because 9 times out of 10 you want to have an item with souls. So that's my size 2 lineup. And for size 1s, I have 1 copy of Hakuro, and she's only really in here for the gauge because of a certain specific spell that we'll get to later. And the life is nice because I don't play many nullifies, so. And then size 0s, we have 3 copies of Otora, and basically she's just in here for that extra gauge and draw, and it's Ace charge and draw, so it's not once per turn, which is very nice. Now for items, I have 3 copies of the Kagero Bell, and I only run 3 because there's so many ways to get at it or get it back if it gets destroyed or for whatever reason. So I feel it's not necessary, and with how consistent the deck can be, you don't need to run 4 because then it can start clogging up your deck. Now for the spells, this is that spicy spell I was mentioning or hinting at, which is Kagero Electrodeity Worship. Basically you pay a life if you have an Electrodeity on the field, and you gain 3 gauge, and you look at all of your gauge and grab a card, which is really nice because I try to gauge ramp, and then you have like half your deck to look at, which is very nice because then you can grab some cards you might have needed. And then I have 4 copies of Ritual Prayer, and basically draw 3 cards, can't argue with that. And next I have 2 copies of Returning Water, and that's more just if I'm playing a little bit more defensively and I decide to put a monster in the center for whatever reason, I can counter and make their attack miss, and then I get resources off of that attack, so it's a little bit more of a defensive plus, which is very nice. And then I have 4 copies of Water Mirror, which is the only nullify I run in the deck, just because most cards can't get over the 12,000 wall. That is Amaterasu. So it's very nice, but sometimes you need it depending on the deck. And next I run 2 copies of Uzi Ikazuchi, which is, I call it an anti-loud voice because you can't reduce the critical. Plus being able to pop monsters and deal damage is very nice on top of what you're probably already doing. And then I run 2 copies of Worded Breath because basically if you have Susanoo out, you can almost destroy any card or any monster on the field, with a few exceptions, but because not much has over 3 crit. Next I run 3 copies of Miracle Fighters. Very obvious, it's a great card for the deck. It's basically made for the 2 decks that came out in this set. And next I run 3 copies of Electrodeity Return because I like to, for this deck, I like to gauge ramp and draw. So being able to grab those, grab my Goryous and like this other size 2s, the size 1 and 0 for resource. It's very nice, especially when you activate a certain card that we'll get to. Next I run 2 copies of Loyalty because you can't not run it in the current format with, you know, God Punks. Next I run 2 copies of Time Sale. I run Time Sale because it's draw 2 cards, and with how much life I gain and how much gauge I gain, it's kind of cheap in the sense because 2 gauge and 2 life isn't that expensive when you're gauging and gaining life so fast. Next I run 2 of the Set Spell, which it's, especially with the new errata that came out, it's very nice, and it's a lot better now. And next I run 1 copy of Winged Arrows. Destroys a card and drops a soul, which is very nice. Depending on the card you're targeting, it can save you a little bit. Next I run 2 copies of Divine Punishment, and that's just to kind of make up for the fact that I don't run very many nullifies. I run a bunch of like controlling counter cards, so when they enter their attack phase, I can kind of shut down their attack phase, which is very helpful. And then last but not least, I run 2 copies of Lost World. Very obvious. To run this card, it's stupid not to because anyone can use it. And that's my deck. So hope you appreciate it.